But how much of what we think we know is actually true? That's what we're here to find out. Get ready to separate fact from fiction as we debunk, demystify, and delve into the heart of some of the most popular myths surrounding ancient Rome. Okay, let's start with a classic, the story of Romulus and Remus, the abandoned twin brothers who, according to legend, were raised by a she-wolf. This tale has been passed down through generations, becoming a cornerstone of Roman mythology. Picture this: two infants left to die by the riverbank, discovered and nurtured by a she-wolf, the very symbol of Rome. The imagery is striking and unforgettable. It's a powerful image, right? And it speaks to the Roman ideal of resilience, of overcoming adversity. The story encapsulates the spirit of survival against all odds. But how much of this story holds up under historical scrutiny? Well, like many origin stories, the tale of Romulus and Remus is likely a blend of fact and fiction. Historians have debated its authenticity for centuries. The image of the she-wolf was a potent symbol in Roman culture long before the Romulus and Remus story became popular. It was deeply embedded in their collective consciousness. It represented strength, ferocity, and even a connection to the natural world. The she-wolf was more than just an animal. It was a symbol of the raw power and untamed spirit that the Romans admired. So, did a she-wolf actually raise two abandoned babies? Probably not. The story is more likely a myth, a way to explain the origins of Rome in a dramatic and memorable fashion. But does the story tell us something about how the Romans saw themselves in their city? Absolutely. It reflects their values, their beliefs, and their aspirations. Think about it: the she-wolf, a fierce protector, raising the founders of Rome, a city destined for greatness. This narrative was a source of pride and identity for the Romans. It's a powerful narrative, one that resonated with the Roman people and helped to shape their understanding of their own history. It was a story that unified them and gave them a sense of purpose. Romulus, destined to become Rome's first king, kills his brother in a dispute over where the city should be built. This part of the story highlights the themes of ambition and conflict. So, while we might never know the exact truth behind the Romulus and Remus legend, we can appreciate it for what it is, a compelling story that reveals a lot about Roman values and beliefs. It's a tale that has endured through the ages, continuing to captivate and inspire. All right, let's move on to another infamous Roman emperor, Nero. Now, Nero's reign was a tumultuous time, marked by political intrigue, power struggles, and of course, the Great Fire of Rome. You know the story. Rome is engulfed in flames, and Nero, the emperor, is nowhere to be found. Instead, he's supposedly miles away, fiddling merrily while his city burns. But did Nero actually fiddle while Rome burned? Well, like many historical rumors, this one is probably a bit too dramatic to be entirely true. For starters, the fiddle, as we know it, didn't exist in ancient Rome. Nero was a known musician, but his instrument of choice was the lyre, a stringed instrument similar to a small harp. More importantly, historical accounts suggest that Nero, upon hearing news of the fire, rushed back to Rome and actually helped to coordinate relief efforts. So where did this whole fiddling while Rome burns idea come from? Well, Nero wasn't exactly known for his popularity. He had a bit of a reputation for being, shall we say, extravagant and ruthless. Rumors and accusations spread like wildfire, and the image of Nero callously playing music while his city burned became a powerful symbol of his supposed tyranny. The Great Fire of Rome was a tragedy, no doubt, but the story of Nero fiddling while it burned is likely more fiction than fact. It's a reminder that history is often written by the victors, and that even the most enduring stories deserve a healthy dose of skepticism. The tale of Nero fiddling while Rome burned is a classic example of how narratives can be shaped and reshaped over time, often to serve particular agendas or to cast certain figures in a negative light. So next time you hear a sensational story from history, remember to question its origins and consider the context in which it was told. Chapter 3. The Vomitorium, a misunderstood architectural marvel. Let's talk about Roman feasts, those legendary gatherings of indulgence and excess. We've all heard the stories, right? Tables piled high with exotic foods, endless supplies of wine, And of course, the infamous vomitorium, that special room where Romans would go to, well, vomit so they could make room for more food. But here's the thing, the vomitorium, as we imagine it, never actually existed. That's right, it's a myth, a misunderstanding of Roman architecture that's been perpetuated for centuries. The word vomitorium does appear in ancient Roman texts, but it wasn't used to describe a room for purging. Instead, it referred to something far less disgusting, but equally impressive. The vomitoria, as they were actually called, were strategically placed tunnels and exits within these massive structures, designed to efficiently move large crowds in and out of the amphitheatre. Imagine thousands of people trying to enter or exit a stadium all at once. But the Romans, with their clever vomitoria, could fill or empty the Colosseum in a matter of minutes. So how did this architectural marvel get so misconstrued? Well, it seems that somewhere along the way the word vomitorium was misinterpreted. It's a funny thing how a simple misunderstanding can take on a life of its own, becoming a persistent myth that colours our perception of an entire civilization. Chapter 4. Gladiator Thumbs, Life or Death in the Arena. Let's journey now into the heart of the Colosseum, to the dusty arena where gladiators clashed in brutal combat for the entertainment of the masses. It's a scene we all know from movies and TV shows. A wounded gladiator, his fate hanging in the balance, looks pleadingly towards the emperor, who will decide whether he lives or dies with a simple gesture of his thumb. Thumbs up, the gladiator is spared. Thumbs down, his fate is sealed. It's a dramatic scene full of tension and symbolism, but is it historically accurate? Well, the truth, as is often the case, is a bit more complicated than the Hollywood version. While the Romans certainly used hand gestures to communicate in the arena, the exact gestures used to signal life or death for a gladiator are still debated by historians. Some scholars believe that a closed fist with a concealed thumb, representing a sword held upright in its scabbard, might have been the signal for sparing a gladiator. An outstretched thumb, pointing towards the throat, could have been the signal for death, symbolizing the fatal blow. So while the thumbs up, thumbs down gesture might not be entirely accurate, it does capture the essence of gladiatorial combat. The power of life and death held in the hands of others. It's a reminder of the brutality of Roman entertainment, but also of the complex social dynamics at play in these spectacles. Chapter 5. Lead poisoning, the downfall of an empire. We've all heard the theory. The Roman Empire, once a mighty power, was brought low by its own technological advancements. Specifically, the lead pipes used in their sophisticated aqueduct systems, which were considered marvels of engineering at the time. The theory goes that the lead leached into the water supply, slowly poisoning the Roman elite, leading to madness, infertility, and ultimately the decline of the empire. But is there any truth to it? Did lead poisoning really contribute to the fall of Rome, or is it just a convenient scapegoat for a more complex issue? Well, like many historical theories, this one is complex and hotly debated among scholars. The evidence is not entirely conclusive. There's no doubt that lead is toxic, and the Romans did use lead pipes extensively in their plumbing, which could have led to widespread exposure. However, the extent to which lead poisoning affected the Roman population, particularly the elite, is still unclear and remains a topic of ongoing research. Some studies have shown elevated levels of lead in the bones of ancient Romans, suggesting that lead exposure was a real issue that could not be ignored. However, other factors such as diet, hygiene and access to medical care also played a significant role in the overall health of the population, complicating the narrative. Attributing the fall of an empire as vast and complex as Rome to a single factor like lead poisoning is, well, an oversimplification. The reality is far more nuanced. The Roman Empire didn't collapse overnight. Its decline was a gradual process, spanning centuries and influenced by a multitude of factors, including political instability, economic troubles, and external pressures. Lead poisoning, while potentially a contributing factor to the health problems of some Romans, was likely not the sole or even the primary cause of the empire's downfall. It was one piece of a much larger puzzle. Chapter 6. That's a wrap on ancient Roman myths. So there you have it, folks. A glimpse into the world of ancient Rome, where myths and realities intertwine. We've debunked, demystified, and hopefully learned a thing or two about this fascinating civilization. Remember, history is more than just dates and names. It's a tapestry woven from stories, some true, some embellished, and some outright myths. For more fun everyday myths explained, subscribe to True